In the hush of the Egyptian desert, when the stars scatter like grains of sand across the night sky, there is a name that drifts softly through the silence: Thoth. He is not the loud god of thunder, nor the fiery god of war, nor the dramatic god who demands offerings of cattle and gold. Thoth is quieter, subtler, and infinitely more patient. He is the god of wisdom, the scribe of the gods, the keeper of balance, and the one who thought it might be a good idea to invent writing so humanity could stop forgetting things every 5 minutes. Thoth is the kind of deity who doesn't need to shout. He simply exists, ibis-headed and serene, perched like a librarian in the cosmos, recording the deeds of mortals and gods alike. He is the one who whispers order into chaos, who keeps the rhythm of the universe ticking like a metronome, who ensures that the sun rises on schedule and the moon glows with its gentle phases. If the divine pantheon were a workplace, Thoth would be the one in the back office, calmly filing cosmic paperwork, while everyone else argued about who gets to sit on the throne. There is something soothing about Thoth's presence. He is not a god of noise, but of silence, not of destruction, but of preservation. He reminds us that wisdom is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is simply the quiet act of remembering, of writing, of keeping balance when the world tilts too far in one direction. In this way, Thoth becomes less a myth and more a lullaby, a gentle reminder that knowledge is the greatest magic of all. And so, as the desert night deepens and the stars hum their ancient song, Thoth waits patiently, ibis-headed and eternal, scribbling notes in the margins of existence. He is the god who does not demand attention but earns it, the god who whispers rather than shouts, the god who reminds us that silence itself can be sacred. And now, dear sleepy listener, if you enjoyed this quiet introduction, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, preferably in your pajamas, because Thoth approves of wisdom delivered in comfort. In the stillness of the Egyptian desert, silence was not emptiness, but presence. The hush of the sands, the quiet of the temples, and the solemn gaze of the Sphinx were all part of a language that spoke without words. To the ancient Egyptians, silence was sacred, a vessel through which wisdom could flow, a pause in which the divine could be heard. And at the heart of this silence stood Thoth, the god who understood that knowledge is not always shouted, but often whispered. The priests of Egypt knew that silence was a form of reverence. In the great temples, rituals began not with noise, but with stillness. The air itself seemed to hold its breath as incense curled upward, carrying prayers into the unseen. Silence was the canvas upon which chants and hymns were painted, the backdrop that gave meaning to every word. Without silence, sound was chaos. With silence, sound became sacred. Thoth embodied this principle. He was not the god of thunderous proclamations or fiery displays. He was the god of balance, of careful words, of measured rhythms. His wisdom was born in silence, in the patient act of listening to the universe. He taught that silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of understanding. In silence, one hears the heartbeat of the cosmos, the rhythm of the stars, the quiet ticking of time itself. The ibis, his sacred bird, reflected this truth. With its long, graceful beak and calm demeanor, the ibis moved quietly along the Nile, searching for sustenance without disturbance. It was a creature of patience, of stillness, of quiet observation, Just as the ibis waits by the water, Thoth waits in silence, recording, remembering, preserving. In the sacred silence of Egypt, wisdom was not rushed. Knowledge was not shouted into the wind. It was carried gently, like papyrus reeds swaying by the river, like stars drifting across the night sky. Silence was the womb of wisdom, the place where thought was born before it became word, where magic was conceived before it became spell. And so, the Egyptians revered silence as they revered Thoth. In the hush of the desert night, they found the presence of the divine. In the stillness of the temple, they felt the weight of eternity. Silence was not emptiness, it was fullness, a reminder that wisdom often arrives not in noise, but in quiet reflection. To the ancient Egyptians, Thoth was not simply a god among gods. He was the very embodiment of wisdom, balance, and the written word. His presence was woven into the fabric of their worldview, shaping how they understood knowledge, magic, and the order of the cosmos. When they looked to the ibis-headed figure, they did not see a distant deity, but a guiding force that kept the universe steady. Thoth was believed to be the divine scribe, the recorder of all things. Every action, every ritual, every heartbeat of the cosmos was thought to pass through his careful hands. He was the one who documented the deeds of mortals and gods alike, ensuring that nothing was lost to forgetfulness. In this way, Thoth was not only a god, but the memory of creation itself, the keeper of records that stretched beyond time. The Egyptians revered him as the inventor of writing, the one who gave humanity the gift of hieroglyphs. With this gift, they could preserve prayers, laws, stories, and histories, transforming fleeting words into eternal symbols carved into stone. Thoth's invention was more than a tool. It was a bridge between the mortal and the divine, allowing humans to speak across centuries and to inscribe their hopes into eternity. He was also the god of language, the one who understood that words were not mere sounds, but vessels of power. To speak a name was to summon its essence. To write a spell was to bind its force. Thoth was the master of this art, the one who knew the secret names of the gods and the formulas that kept the stars in their courses. His wisdom was not passive, it was active, shaping reality through the precision of words. Beyond writing and language, Thoth was seen as the mediator of balance. He stood beside Ra, the sun god, helping him navigate the eternal struggle against chaos. He weighed the hearts of mortals against the feather of Mat, ensuring that justice was upheld in the afterlife. He was the one who kept time, who measured the heavens, who ensured that the rhythm of the universe did not falter. To the Egyptians, Thoth was not a distant myth, but a constant presence. He was the quiet force behind every ritual, the unseen hand guiding every calculation, the patient scribe recording every moment. In their eyes, he was the god who made civilization possible, the one who gave humanity the tools to remember, to reason, and to dream. Among the many gifts attributed to Thoth, none shaped the destiny of humanity more profoundly than writing and language. To the Egyptians, Thoth was not only the divine scribe of the gods, but the very inventor of hieroglyphs, the sacred symbols that transformed fleeting speech into lasting record. In his hands, words were not mere sounds, but vessels of power, capable of preserving memory, shaping ritual, and binding reality itself. Writing in Egypt was considered a divine act, a bridge between the mortal and the eternal. When a priest carved hieroglyphs into temple walls, It was not simply decoration, but invocation. Each symbol carried layers of meaning, each inscription a spell that echoed across centuries. Thoth was believed to have taught humanity how to use these symbols, how to capture the essence of thought and preserve it beyond the moment. In this way, he became the architect of civilization's memory, ensuring that prayers, laws, and histories would not vanish into silence. Language itself was seen as a form of magic. To speak a name was to summon its essence. To recite a formula was to command its force. Thoth embodied this principle, mastering the secret names of the gods, the incantations that kept the stars in their courses, and the words that healed the sick or guided the dead. His role was not passive. He was the one who shaped reality through the precision of speech, reminding humanity that words are not only tools but spells. The Egyptians revered scribes as servants of Thoth, guardians of knowledge who carried his divine gift into daily life. A scribe was more than a writer. He was a mediator between worlds, recording the deeds of kings, preserving the wisdom of priests, and ensuring that the voice of the people reached eternity. Every scroll, every inscription, every carved symbol was a fragment of Thoth's legacy, a reminder that language itself was sacred. In the sleepy rhythm of myth, Thoth drifts through the cosmos with his ibis head and calm gaze, scribbling notes in the margins of existence. He is the god who gave humanity the power to remember, the magician who turned sound into symbol, the eternal scribe who whispers that words are more than noise. They are the architecture of reality. In the imagination of ancient Egypt, animals were not merely creatures of the earth, but living symbols of divine truths. Among them, the ibis stood apart, graceful and deliberate, its long curved beak dipping into the waters of the Nile with patient precision. This bird became the sacred emblem of Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and magic, embodying the quiet balance and thoughtful rhythm that defined his role in the cosmos. The ibis was a creature of silence and observation. It did not roar or thunder. It moved with calm dignity, searching the shallows for sustenance. To the Egyptians, this mirrored Thoth's nature. Just as the ibis waited by the river, Thoth waited in the silence of the universe, recording, remembering, and preserving. The curve of its beak was seen as a symbol of the crescent moon, another of Thoth's domains, reminding humanity that wisdom glows even in darkness. Symbols were the language of Thoth. Hieroglyphs, geometric forms, and sacred signs carried layers of meaning, each one a vessel of knowledge. The ibis itself became one of these symbols, a living hieroglyph that spoke of patience, balance, and insight. To carve the image of an ibis was to invoke Thoth's presence, to call upon the god who understood that wisdom is not noise but silence, not chaos but rhythm. The Egyptians believed that Thoth's wisdom was encoded in symbols scattered across the world. The stars themselves were symbols, their patterns forming maps of divine order. Numbers were symbols, each one carrying a hidden truth about the structure of reality. Words were symbols, their shapes binding meaning into permanence. In this symbolic universe, Thoth was the interpreter, the one who taught humanity how to read the signs and understand the hidden language of existence. The ibis, therefore, was more than a bird. It was a reminder. It reminded humanity that wisdom requires patience, that silence is fertile, that observation is powerful. It reminded them that knowledge is not always loud or immediate, but often subtle, waiting to be discovered in the quiet rhythms of nature. The ibis drifts along the Nile, its reflection shimmering in the water, a living symbol of Thoth's eternal wisdom. It whispers across centuries that knowledge is not lost but hidden in signs, waiting for those who are patient enough to see. In the vast mythology of Egypt, time was not seen as a simple sequence of hours and days, but as a sacred rhythm, a cosmic heartbeat that kept the universe in balance. At the center of this rhythm stood Thoth, the god who measured, recorded, and preserved the flow of existence. He was not only the scribe of the gods, but the keeper of time itself, ensuring that the cycles of the sun, the moon, and the stars unfolded with precision. The Egyptians believed that time was woven into the fabric of Mat, the principle of truth and balance. Without order, the cosmos would collapse into chaos, and so Thoth became the guardian of this order. He was the one who calculated the movements of celestial bodies, who divided the year into seasons, who taught humanity to measure days and nights. Every rising of the sun, every waxing of the moon, every flood of the Nile was part of the rhythm Thoth maintained. The moon was his symbol, glowing softly in the night sky, marking the passage of months and guiding the calendar. Just as the moon reflected the light of the sun, Thoth reflected the wisdom of the divine, ensuring that even in darkness, time continued its steady march. The phases of the moon were seen as his work, a reminder that time is not static but cyclical, flowing like the river, returning like the seasons. Thoth's role as timekeeper extended into the afterlife. When souls stood before the scales of judgment, it was Thoth who recorded the moment, ensuring that justice was measured not only in weight but in eternity. He was the one who marked the passage from life to death, from mortal days to timeless existence. In this way, he was both the guardian of earthly calendars and the scribe of eternal destiny. To the Egyptians, Thoth's mastery of time was a gift. It allowed them to plant crops with confidence, to celebrate festivals in harmony with the heavens, to live their lives in rhythm with the cosmos. Time was not chaos but order, not confusion but clarity, and Thoth was the one who ensured that this clarity endured. In the sleepy rhythm of myth, Thoth drifts through the night sky with the moon as his lantern, marking the hours with quiet precision, reminding humanity that time is not a burden but a balance, not a chain but a rhythm, not fleeting but eternal. In the mythology of Egypt, Thoth was not simply the god of writing or the keeper of time. He was the embodiment of the delicate balance between magic and knowledge. To the Egyptians, these two forces were inseparable, woven together like threads in the cosmic fabric. Knowledge without magic was lifeless, and magic without knowledge was chaos. Thoth stood at the center, ensuring that both were harmonized, guiding humanity and the gods alike toward equilibrium. Magic in Egypt was not seen as trickery or illusion, but as a fundamental force of the universe. It was the energy that animated rituals, the power that bound words to reality, the hidden rhythm that kept the stars in their courses. Thoth was the master of this energy, the one who knew the secret names of the gods, the formulas that healed the sick, the incantations that protected the living and guided the dead. His magic was not loud or violent, but precise, born from wisdom and silence. Knowledge was his other domain, equally sacred. He was the god who taught humanity to count, to measure, to record, to reason. He gave them writing so they could preserve memory, mathematics so they could understand order, astronomy so they could read the heavens. Knowledge was the foundation of civilization, and Thoth was its architect. Yet he knew that knowledge alone could be dangerous if not tempered by balance. Divine balance was the principle that united his gifts. Thoth was often depicted alongside Mat, the goddess of truth, ensuring that the scales of justice were never tipped too far. He weighed the hearts of mortals against the feather of truth, recording the outcome with impartial precision. In this role, he was not only a judge, but a reminder that wisdom requires harmony, that power must be guided by fairness, that magic and knowledge must serve balance rather than ambition. The Egyptians saw Thoth as the mediator between chaos and order, between gods and mortals, between the seen and the unseen. His presence was a reassurance that the universe was not random but structured, that every spell had its formula, every star its path, every soul its measure. He was the quiet force that kept the cosmos steady, the patient scribe who ensured that wisdom and magic did not collide but coexisted. In the vision of the Egyptian afterlife, the journey of the soul was a solemn passage through halls of truth and balance. At the center of this process stood Thoth, the divine scribe, whose role was to ensure that justice was carried out with precision and fairness. He was not the judge, nor the executioner, but the recorder, the one who documented the fate of every soul with impartial clarity. The Egyptians believed that upon death, the heart of the deceased was weighed against the feather of Mat, the symbol of truth and cosmic order. This weighing determined whether the soul was pure enough to enter the eternal fields of peace, or whether it would be consumed by Ammit, the devourer of the unworthy. Osiris presided over the ceremony, but Thoth was the one who wrote down the outcome, preserving it in the eternal record. His presence was essential because truth needed a witness. Thoth ensured that no trickery could alter the scales, no deception could sway the balance. He stood beside the gods, ibis-headed and calm, observing the moment when eternity was decided. With his stylus and scroll, he captured the verdict, making it part of the cosmic memory. This role reflected his nature as the guardian of balance. He was the mediator who kept chaos at bay, the scribe who ensured that justice was not corrupted, the divine presence that reminded mortals that their deeds mattered beyond life. To the Egyptians, Thoth's impartiality was a comfort. Kings and peasants alike would face the same scales, the same feather, the same recording hand. The ceremony of judgment was not only about punishment, but about harmony. It was a reminder that the universe itself was built on balance, that truth was the foundation of existence, and that wisdom was the path to eternity. Thoth's role in this ritual was a reflection of his larger purpose, to preserve order, to protect truth, and to ensure that the rhythm of the cosmos continued without falter. Thoth became more than a scribe of the gods. He was the guardian of justice, the witness of truth, and the eternal recorder of the soul's destiny. Among the many mysteries that surround Thoth, few have captured the imagination of later ages as much as the legend of the Emerald Tablets. These tablets, often spoken of in whispers and wrapped in layers of myth, are said to contain the deepest secrets of the universe. Wisdom so profound that it bridges the gap between gods and mortals, between magic and science, between the seen and the unseen. Though their origins are debated, the connection to Thoth has remained strong. For who else but the god of knowledge and writing could be the custodian of such truths? The Emerald Tablets are often described as indestructible, eternal records inscribed with the language of creation itself. They are said to hold formulas for alchemy, instructions for harnessing cosmic energy, and revelations about the nature of existence. In later traditions, especially those influenced by Hermetic philosophy, Thoth was identified with Hermes Trismegistus, and the tablets became symbols of hidden wisdom passed down through ages. Whether they were real artifacts or purely allegorical, they carried the aura of Thoth's authority. His role as the divine scribe who wrote not only the history of the gods, but the very laws of reality. For the Egyptians, the idea of forbidden or hidden texts was not unusual. Knowledge was sacred, and not all wisdom was meant for every ear. The emerald tablets fit into this worldview as a mythical extension of Thoth's role, the keeper of secrets too powerful to be casually revealed. They represented the notion that wisdom must be earned, that truth must be approached with reverence, and that balance must be maintained even in the pursuit of knowledge. Later generations, from Greek philosophers to medieval alchemists, looked to the emerald tablets as a source of inspiration. They imagined Thoth, or Hermes, as the teacher who left behind cryptic instructions for those willing to seek enlightenment. The tablets became symbols of the eternal quest for understanding, the dream that hidden knowledge could unlock the mysteries of life and death, matter and spirit, time and eternity. Whether myth or metaphor, the emerald tablets' connection reinforced Thoth's image as the god who held the keys to wisdom. He was not only the scribe of the gods, but the guardian of truths too vast for ordinary comprehension. In this way, the tablets became part of his legacy, a reminder that knowledge is both gift and responsibility, both illumination and burden, both a path to balance and a test of restraint. Among the many legends surrounding Thoth, none are more intriguing than the whispers of the Book of Thoth, a mythical text said to contain the most powerful secrets of magic and knowledge ever recorded. To the Egyptians, Thoth was the divine scribe, the one who wrote not only the laws of the gods, but also the hidden formulas that governed the universe. The Book of Thoth was imagined as his ultimate work, a compilation of wisdom so vast and dangerous that it was said to grant mastery over the heavens, the earth, and even the underworld. Stories describe the Book of Thoth as containing spells that could command the elements, reveal the language of animals, and unlock the mysteries of the stars. It was believed to hold the knowledge of life and death, the power to speak with the gods, and the ability to control fate itself. Such a text, if it ever existed, would have been the most forbidden of all writings, a treasure too great for mortals to wield without consequence. Egyptian tradition often warned of the dangers of hidden knowledge. Wisdom was sacred, and not all truths were meant to be revealed. The Book of Thoth became a symbol of this tension, the allure of ultimate understanding balanced against the peril of misuse. Legends tell of mortals who sought the book only to be punished for their ambition, their lives unraveling as they tampered with forces beyond their comprehension. Later traditions, especially in the Greco-Roman world, expanded on these myths, linking the Book of Thoth to Hermetic writings and the pursuit of esoteric knowledge. It became associated with the idea of forbidden texts, hidden scrolls, and secret teachings passed down only to the worthy. Whether real or imagined, the book represented the eternal human desire to grasp the infinite, to hold in one's hands the very script of creation. For the Egyptians, the Book of Thoth was not simply a text, but a reminder. It reminded them that knowledge is both gift and danger, that wisdom must be tempered with balance, and that the pursuit of truth must be guided by reverence. In the mythic silence of their temples, the book was less an object than a symbol, the embodiment of Thoth's role as the keeper of secrets, the guardian of wisdom, and the scribe who knew that some truths are too powerful to be spoken aloud. Among the most enduring legends tied to Thoth is the mysterious Hall of Records, a mythical repository said to contain the accumulated wisdom of the ages. This hall was imagined as a hidden chamber, concealed beneath the sands or within the sacred structures of Egypt, where the secrets of the gods and the chronicles of humanity were preserved. To the Egyptians, Thoth was the eternal scribe, and the Hall of Records was the ultimate library, a place where nothing was forgotten and everything was remembered. The Hall of Records was believed to hold scrolls and tablets inscribed with knowledge far beyond ordinary comprehension. Within its walls, the story of creation, the movements of the stars, the formulas of magic, and the destinies of mortals were said to be recorded. It was not merely a storehouse of information, but a sacred archive, guarded by Thoth himself, who ensured that its treasures were kept safe from misuse. For the Egyptians, the idea of such a hall reflected their reverence for memory and preservation. Temples and tombs were filled with inscriptions, each one a fragment of eternity, each one a reminder that words could outlast stones. The Hall of Records was the mythic extension of this belief, the ultimate archive where the wisdom of the gods was safeguarded against the erosion of time. Later traditions, especially those influenced by Greek and Hermetic thought, expanded on this legend, imagining the Hall of Records as a hidden chamber beneath the Great Pyramid or within the sands of Giza. It became a symbol of lost knowledge, a place where humanity's forgotten truths still waited to be rediscovered. Whether real or imagined, the hall carried the aura of Thoth's authority, his role as the guardian of wisdom, too vast for ordinary hands. The Hall of Records was not simply about storage, it was about balance. Knowledge was powerful, and power required responsibility. Thoth's guardianship ensured that wisdom was not scattered or corrupted, that truth was preserved even when civilizations rose and fell. In this way, the hall became a metaphor for the eternal memory of the cosmos, a reminder that nothing is truly lost, only hidden, waiting for the patient seeker to find. Through this legend, Thoth's image as the divine scribe was magnified. He was not only the recorder of the gods, but the custodian of all knowledge, the keeper of the hall where the secrets of existence were preserved in silence, waiting for those who approached with reverence and balance. In the temples of ancient Egypt, the presence of Thoth was not confined to statues or inscriptions. It lived through the rituals carried out by his priests. These men were more than caretakers of sacred spaces. They were guardians of wisdom, interpreters of divine language, and custodians of the balance that Thoth embodied. To serve Thoth was to dedicate oneself to silence, precision, and the pursuit of knowledge. For his domain demanded discipline rather than spectacle. The priests of Thoth were often scribes, trained from a young age to master the art of hieroglyphs and the complexities of ritual language. Writing was not a mundane task, but a sacred act, each symbol carrying layers of meaning, each inscription a bridge between the mortal and the divine. In their hands, scrolls became vessels of eternity, preserving prayers, laws, and cosmic truths. To write was to serve Thoth, and to serve Thoth was to honor the very foundation of civilization. Their duties extended beyond writing. They were astronomers who charted the movements of the stars, mathematicians who calculated the rhythms of time, healers who invoked sacred formulas to restore balance to the body. Every discipline of knowledge was seen as a reflection of Thoth's wisdom, and the priests became living embodiments of his gifts. In their quiet devotion, they carried forward the god's legacy, ensuring that humanity remained aligned with the order of the cosmos. Rituals dedicated to Thoth were marked by silence and precision. Incense curled upward in measured patterns, chants were spoken with exact phrasing, and offerings were placed with deliberate care. The priests believed that even the smallest error could disrupt the balance of the ritual. For Thoth's domain was accuracy, and accuracy was sacred. Their devotion was not loud or dramatic, but patient and meticulous, mirroring the God they served. The role of these priests was also protective. They guarded forbidden texts, preserved hidden knowledge, and ensured that wisdom was not misused. In their hands, the secrets of Thoth were kept safe, passed only to those deemed worthy, hidden from those who might wield them recklessly. They understood that knowledge was both gift and danger, both illumination and burden, and they carried this responsibility with solemn reverence. Through the priests' Thoth's presence was woven into daily life. They were the scribes who recorded history, the scholars who measured the heavens, the healers who restored balance, the guardians who preserved truth. In their devotion, the God of wisdom found his earthly voice, and through their service, the rhythm of knowledge continued unbroken across centuries. In the mythology surrounding Thoth, there is a recurring theme that not all wisdom was meant to be shared openly. The Egyptians believed that knowledge was sacred, a force as powerful as the Nile itself, and that its misuse could bring imbalance to the world. Thoth, as the god of wisdom and magic, became the guardian of truths too vast or too dangerous for ordinary mortals to wield. His role was not only to grant knowledge, but also to conceal it, to protect humanity from the consequences of understanding what it was not yet ready to bear. Hidden knowledge was imagined as texts locked away in temples, formulas whispered only to priests, or cosmic secrets encoded in symbols that few could interpret. The Egyptians saw this concealment not as cruelty, but as protection. Just as fire can warm or destroy, wisdom could illuminate or corrupt. Thoth's guardianship ensured that humanity received only what it could handle. That balance was preserved even in the pursuit of truth. Legends spoke of forbidden scrolls, secret chambers, and divine records that contained the mysteries of creation. These were said to be hidden in places only Thoth could access, guarded by silence and ritual. The Hall of Records, the Book of Thoth, and the Emerald Tablets all carried echoes of this idea that ultimate knowledge existed but was veiled, waiting for those who approached with reverence and discipline. This theme extended beyond Egypt. Later traditions, especially in Hermetic philosophy, imagined Thoth as Hermes Trismegistus, the teacher who concealed wisdom in cryptic texts so that only the worthy could decipher it. The idea of hidden knowledge became a universal motif, a reminder that truth is not always given freely, but must be sought with patience, humility, and balance. For the Egyptians, the concealment of knowledge was itself a form of wisdom. It taught that curiosity must be tempered with caution, that ambition must be balanced with responsibility, and that the pursuit of truth must be guided by reverence. Thoth's role as the guardian of hidden knowledge was a reminder that wisdom is not only about discovery, but also about restraint, that the greatest truths are often those that remain veiled until the time is right. Beyond his role as scribe of the gods and guardian of balance, Thoth was revered as the divine teacher who shaped the very foundations of civilization. To the Egyptians, he was not only the inventor of writing, but the one who taught humanity how to use knowledge to build order, culture, and society. His wisdom was seen as the spark that transformed scattered tribes into a people bound by law, ritual, and memory. Thoth's teachings encompassed every discipline essential to a thriving civilization. He was credited with giving humanity writing, so that speech could become record and memory could endure. He taught mathematics, enabling the measurement of land, the calculation of time, and the construction of temples aligned with the stars. He revealed astronomy, guiding the Egyptians to chart the heavens and harmonize their calendars with the rhythms of the cosmos. He imparted medicine, offering formulas and incantations that restored balance to the body and spirit. Civilization, in the Egyptian view, was not merely about survival, but about harmony with the divine order. Thoth's role was to ensure that humanity lived in alignment with Mat, the principle of truth and balance. His teachings were not simply practical skills, but sacred gifts, each one a reflection of cosmic wisdom. To learn from Thoth was to learn how to live in rhythm with the universe, how to build a society that mirrored the order of the gods. Priests and scribes carried forward his legacy, becoming the earthly teachers who preserved and transmitted his wisdom. In schools attached to temples, young scribes learned to write, calculate, and observe the heavens, all under the patronage of Thoth. These institutions became the heart of Egyptian culture, ensuring that knowledge was not lost but passed from generation to generation. Through Thoth, civilization itself was sanctified. He was the god who taught humanity to rise above instinct, to shape culture through wisdom, to preserve truth through writing, and to honor the cosmos through balance. In this way, Thoth was not only a divine scribe, but the architect of human society, the teacher who gave civilization its voice, its order, and its enduring memory. Though Thoth's origins are deeply rooted in the temples and myths of ancient Egypt, his influence did not remain confined to the Nile Valley. As Egyptian culture interacted with neighboring civilizations and later merged into the wider Mediterranean world, Thoth's image evolved, transforming into new identities and inspiring traditions far beyond his homeland. In the Greco-Egyptian period, Thoth was identified with Hermes, the Greek messenger god. This fusion gave rise to Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great Hermes, a figure who embodied the wisdom of both traditions. Through this blending, Thoth's role as scribe, magician, and teacher of civilization was carried into the philosophical currents of the Hellenistic world. The writings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, known as the Hermetica, became foundational texts for later mystical and philosophical traditions. Echoing Thoth's legacy as the guardian of hidden knowledge, in the Roman era, Thoth's influence continued through Hermetic philosophy, which emphasized the unity of the cosmos, the pursuit of divine wisdom, and the balance between matter and spirit. These ideas resonated with scholars, mystics, and alchemists across Europe and the Middle East, ensuring that Thoth's symbolic presence endured long after the decline of Egyptian temples. Medieval and Renaissance thinkers rediscovered Hermetic texts and saw in them a bridge between ancient wisdom and their own search for universal truth. Alchemists, philosophers, and magicians invoked Hermes Trismegistus as a source of authority, believing that his teachings rooted in Thoth's mythic role, held the keys to transformation and enlightenment. In this way, Thoth's legacy became woven into the intellectual fabric of Europe, influencing science, mysticism, and philosophy alike. Even in modern times, Thoth's image persists as a symbol of wisdom, writing, and esoteric knowledge. He appears in occult traditions, mystical studies, and popular imagination as the archetype of the wise teacher, the scribe of the gods, and the keeper of secrets. His journey beyond Egypt reflects the enduring human fascination with knowledge and the belief that wisdom transcends borders, cultures, and ages. Through these transformations, Thoth's essence remained constant, the God who taught humanity, preserved truth, and guarded the mysteries of existence. His presence beyond Egypt demonstrates how myths evolve, adapt, and endure, carrying forward the timeless message that wisdom is both universal and eternal. As Egyptian culture blended with Greek thought during the Hellenistic period, Thoth's identity began to merge with that of Hermes, the Greek messenger god. This fusion gave rise to the figure known as Hermes Trismegistus, Hermes, the thrice great. To the Greeks, Hermes was the god of communication, travel, and cunning. To the Egyptians, Thoth was the god of wisdom, writing, and balance. Together, they became a single archetype of divine knowledge, bridging to civilizations and shaping the foundations of Western esoteric tradition. Hermes Trismegistus was imagined as a sage, a teacher who revealed the secrets of the cosmos through sacred writings. These texts, later called the Hermetica, explored themes of creation, the unity of the divine, the relationship between spirit and matter, and the path to enlightenment. Though written centuries after the height of Egyptian civilization, they carried echoes of Thoth's role as the scribe of the gods and the guardian of hidden wisdom. The title, Thrice Great, reflected the belief that Hermes embodied mastery over three realms of knowledge: the physical, the intellectual, and the spiritual. This mirrored Thoth's Egyptian role as mediator of balance, keeper of time, and teacher of civilization. In both traditions, the figure represented the harmony of opposites, the union of heaven and earth, body and soul, knowledge and magic. Hermetic philosophy, inspired by this fusion, became a cornerstone of mystical and philosophical thought in the Greco-Roman world. It emphasized that the universe was a living whole, that humans could ascend toward divine understanding, and that wisdom was the key to transformation. These ideas resonated through centuries, influencing alchemy, Renaissance philosophy, and modern esoteric traditions. In Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth's legacy was carried far beyond Egypt. He became not only the scribe of the gods, but the universal teacher, the archetype of wisdom that transcended cultures and ages. The merging of Hermes and Thoth symbolized the blending of civilizations, the continuity of human fascination with knowledge, and the enduring belief that truth is both hidden and eternal, waiting for those who seek it with reverence. The myths surrounding Thoth often emphasize not only his role as the giver of wisdom, but also as the guardian who withheld certain truths from humanity. This theme of sealed knowledge reflects the Egyptian understanding that wisdom is both a gift and a danger, a force that must be carefully balanced to preserve harmony. Thoth's knowledge was said to encompass the deepest mysteries of creation, the language of the stars, the formulas of magic, the secrets of life and death. Such truths, if freely given, could disrupt the balance of Mat, the cosmic order. The Egyptians believed that mortals, driven by ambition or greed, might misuse this knowledge, turning it into chaos rather than harmony. To prevent this, Thoth sealed away portions of his wisdom, hiding them in forbidden texts, sacred rituals, or symbolic language that only the initiated could understand. The sealing of knowledge also reflected the sacred hierarchy of learning. Priests and scribes were entrusted with fragments of Thoth's wisdom, but only after years of discipline and devotion. This ensured that knowledge was not scattered recklessly, but passed on with reverence. The myths of the Book of Thoth, the Emerald Tablets, and the Hall of Records all echo this idea that ultimate truths exist, but they are veiled, waiting for those who approach with humility and balance. Later traditions, especially in Hermetic philosophy, carried forward this motif. Hermes Trismegistus, the Greco-Egyptian counterpart of Thoth, was imagined as a sage who concealed wisdom in cryptic writings so that only the worthy could decipher it. The sealing of knowledge became a universal symbol of restraint, teaching that enlightenment is not granted instantly, but earned through patience, discipline, and moral integrity. For the Egyptians, the act of sealing knowledge was itself an act of wisdom. It reminded humanity that curiosity must be tempered with caution, that power must be balanced with responsibility, and that truth must be approached with reverence. Thoth's guardianship of hidden knowledge was not a denial, but a protection, ensuring that the rhythm of the cosmos remained intact, and that humanity's pursuit of wisdom did not unravel the delicate balance of existence. The story of Thoth is inseparable from the idea of wisdom: wisdom given, wisdom guarded, and wisdom lost. Across the centuries, countless scrolls, inscriptions, and teachings that once carried the voice of the divine scribe have vanished, eroded by sand, fire, conquest, and the slow decay of memory. What remains today are fragments, echoes of a vast treasury of knowledge that once shaped civilizations. Egyptian temples once held libraries filled with sacred texts, carefully copied by scribes who saw writing as a holy act. These texts contained hymns, rituals, astronomical calculations, medical formulas, and philosophical reflections. Yet wars, invasions, and the passage of time consumed much of this heritage. The burning of libraries, the looting of tombs, and the shifting sands of the desert ensured that much of Thoth's wisdom slipped beyond reach. Legends speak of hidden archives, the Hall of Records, the Book of Thoth, the Emerald Tablets, repositories of knowledge concealed from humanity. Whether these were real or symbolic, they reflect the deep awareness that wisdom can be fragile, that truth can be lost if not preserved with reverence. The myths remind us that the greatest treasures are not gold or stone, but words, ideas, and the balance they bring to human life. Later generations, from Greek philosophers to Renaissance scholars, sought to recover fragments of this lost wisdom. Hermetic texts, alchemical writings, and mystical traditions all carried whispers of Thoth's legacy, reinterpreted through new lenses. Yet even these were incomplete shadows of a greater whole. The sense of loss became part of the myth itself, the belief that humanity once held knowledge of the cosmos, only to see it scattered and hidden. For the Egyptians, the loss of wisdom was not final. They believed that truth could never truly vanish, only retreat into silence, waiting for those who approached with humility and balance. In this way, the myth of Thoth's sealed and forgotten knowledge became a lesson. Wisdom must be cherished, preserved, and sought with reverence, for once it is lost, the path to harmony grows dim. Thus, Chapter 18 reminds us that the sands of time may bury scrolls and temples, but the longing for wisdom endures. The legacy of Thoth is not only in what was written, but in the eternal human quest to recover what has been forgotten, to seek the truths that lie hidden, and to restore the balance that knowledge brings. Though the temples of Egypt have long fallen silent, the figure of Thoth continues to resonate in the modern imagination. He is no longer worshipped as a god in ritual halls, yet his essence endures as a symbol of wisdom, balance, and the pursuit of truth. In many ways, Thoth has transcended religion to become an archetype, a timeless reminder of humanity's relationship with knowledge. Today, Thoth represents the idea that wisdom is not merely information, but understanding. He embodies the pursuit of learning that is tempered by responsibility, the recognition that knowledge must serve balance rather than chaos. In a world overflowing with data, Thoth's image reminds us that discernment is as important as discovery, that truth must be weighed carefully, just as the heart was weighed against the feather of mat. In philosophy and spirituality, Thoth's legacy lives on through Hermetic traditions, esoteric studies, and mystical practices that see him as Hermes Trismegistus, the eternal teacher. He is invoked as a guide to hidden truths, a symbol of the unity between science and spirit, matter and mind. For seekers of wisdom, Thoth represents the eternal quest to understand the cosmos and humanity's place within it. In culture and art, Thoth has become a symbol of writing, creativity, and intellectual pursuit. He is the archetypal scribe, the patron of scholars, and the reminder that words have power to preserve memory and shape reality. His image, ibis-headed, calm and precise, continues to inspire depictions of knowledge as sacred and enduring. Ultimately, Thoth represents the timeless human desire for wisdom. He is the guardian of truth, the mediator of balance, and the eternal scribe who reminds us that knowledge is both gift and responsibility. In the modern age, where information is abundant but understanding is rare, Thoth's presence is a call to seek not just facts but meaning, not just power but harmony, not just knowledge but wisdom. As the story of Thoth wins toward its close, we are left with the quiet awareness that much of the wisdom once revered has slipped beyond reach. The sands of Egypt have buried temples, scrolls, and inscriptions, leaving only fragments of a vast treasury of knowledge. What remains are echoes, myths, symbols, and scattered texts, reminders of a time when wisdom was seen not as possession, but as sacred balance. Forgotten knowledge is not truly lost. It lingers in silence, waiting for those who seek it with reverence. The myths of Thoth teach us that truth often hides itself, not out of cruelty, but out of care. Some wisdom must be approached slowly, patiently, with humility, lest it overwhelm or disrupt the delicate rhythm of life. In this way, the forgotten becomes a teacher, reminding us that the pursuit of knowledge is as much about restraint as discovery. Today, when information flows endlessly, the idea of forgotten wisdom feels almost paradoxical. Yet the essence of Thoth's legacy is not about abundance, but about meaning. It is not the quantity of knowledge that matters, but the balance it brings, the harmony it restores, the truth it preserves. Forgotten knowledge whispers to us that wisdom is timeless, that even when scrolls crumble and temples fade, the rhythm of truth endures. And so, as we reflect on Thoth's journey, from scribe of the gods to guardian of hidden truths, from teacher of civilization to symbol of eternal wisdom, we find ourselves lulled into a calm recognition. Knowledge may be forgotten, but it is never gone. It rests quietly, like stars behind clouds, waiting for the night to clear. The story closes softly, like a scroll rolled shut, like a temple door sealed in silence. The wisdom of Thoth remains, not in words alone, but in the gentle reminder that truth is eternal, balance is sacred, and knowledge is a gift to be cherished. And with that, the tale drifts into stillness. Good night.